Okay, today we're going to talk about home mortgages. Okay. Home mortgages. And this is something that'll apply to almost all of you at some point in your life, obviously, because I think most of you would probably buy a house at some point. And so we're gonna talk about in this class we're just gonna look at fixed rate mortgages. Okay. It's fixed rate mortgages, and the difference, if you actually buy a house, there's actually two types of mortgages: variable rate mortgages and fixed rate mortgages. Fixed rate mortgages means that you have the same interest rate throughout the duration of the loan. Variable rate mortgages means that they can change the interest rate throughout the loan, and there's different programs depending upon where you're at. So we're going to talk about fixed rate mortgages, and the payments for a mortgage. If you want to find your payment for a mortgage, well, a fixed rate mortgage is really just an installment loan, which we've already talked about installment loans with cars. It's just a longer term loan. So instead of being a 5 or 6 year loan like a car is, it's going to be something like a 15 or a 30 year. You can actually get ones that are 10 year and 40 and 50 year. If you have a commercial real estate, you're buying like a company or something like that, or buying a huge commercial building, you might be able to get a longer mortgage period. But other than that, so what we're going to do is we're going to jump right into this. So it's going to have the same payment formula as the other one. Do you remember that payment formula from last time? For car loan, P times R over N over 1 minus 1 plus R over N to the minus NT. That's your payment situation right there. And we're going to use this to figure out some problems. So let's jump right into this because we already have the formula we need, and let's get going. Okay, so you got a home that's $195,000. Let's look at this example one. The bank requires a 10% down payment and 2 points at the time of closing. The cost of the home is financed with a 30-year fixed mortgage at 7.5%. Okay, so first of all, what does 2 points mean? That's really important to understand. 2 points means 2%. Okay, when you see the word points in mortgage land, that means percent. Okay, so let's, usually that would be referring to closing costs. There's closing costs in addition to down payment. So let's look at part A first, okay? So find the required down payment. Well, they say the down payment is 10%. So I just take 195,000 times 0.10, okay, which is 19,500. That's the down payment. Okay, that's easy. Find the amount of the mortgage. Well, the amount of the mortgage is the amount that you're going to owe after your down payment. So you would take that 195,000 and subtract off your down payment. That's the amount of the actual loan, because the down payment is the amount that you will bring to closing for that will come off the loan. So what does that equal? That equals 175,500. Okay, so that's going to be the actual loan amount. How much was you paid for the 2 points at closing? Well, the 2 points at closing would be 195 times 0.02, so 2% of 195. That's $3,900. Find the monthly payment. Okay, it says excluding escrowed taxes and insurance. Usually in your monthly payment for a house, taxes and insurance are included, but for the sake of this section, we're not going to mess with that right now. And so you kind of see part of the answer here. I should have cut that off, this part right here for part A. That's okay. This is example one from the book just because it's a really good problem. So so the way I figure out my payment, okay, is we use that payment formula that we just had a minute ago. That's P times R over N all over 1 minus 1 plus R over N to the minus NT. Okay, so this is So my principal, that's what I owe. That'd be this figure. This is the loan amount. So that'd be 175,000 times R over N, which is 0.075, 7.5%. All over N, which is 12 payments a year because we're paying monthly, right? And then that's going to be 1 minus 1 plus 0.075 over 12 to the minus 12. And this is a what year? 30-year fixed rate. So that's 30. Okay, what does that all equal? If I round that, that is approximately $1,227. Okay, that's my monthly payment. Now, how would I find the total interest? I'm kind of running out of room here, but the total interest is the total amount I pay. So the interest is going to be the amount paid minus, oh, sorry, my bad, I should say this. It's not amount paid. Amount of payments, of all the payments, the amount of all the payments, minus the purchase price. Right? Wouldn't that be it? Actually, I should be more precise than that. It's not purchase price, my bad. It'd be the mortgage amount. That's the amount that I borrowed in the loan. So the amount of the payments is going to be very simple. It's going to be 1,227 times however many months there are in 30 years. Well, the amount of months in 30 years is just 30 times 12, isn't it? 30 years times 12 months. That is the amount of my payments right there. So we got that part down. Okay, then I'm going to subtract, I forgot to put the minus there, the mortgage amount, which is 175.5. And what does that equal? Well, it looks like that is going to equal plugging this into my calculator, that equals $266,720. So what's that? Here's something you learned here, guys. The amount of interest that you pay on a 30-year mortgage at this interest rate is greater than the purchase price of the home. So, man, you lose a lot of money when you take out a home loan over the long haul if you don't pay it off early. This is why a lot of people try to pay their houses off early or go for a 15-year mortgage or something like that, because you end up paying a lot less in interest. Okay, so that's a good problem where we did everything. We kind of did the down payment. We wrestled with. We figured out the amount of points that we'd have to pay. That's this figure right here, this orange figure. That would be your closing cost. I just bought a house actually, and we figured all this stuff out. I had closing costs of around that cost. My house wasn't as expensive as this, but and then to find out your total amount of interest, you take the total amount of all your payments and subtract it from the mortgage amount, because the payments include the interest and the part you're paying off of the loan itself. So that's how you would figure out a problem like this. So let's move on to the next thing. Now let's look at some common recommendations that are kind of a rule of thumb in the finance world on what you can afford. Common recommendations on what you can actually afford. So they say one recommendation that's given, and I don't necessarily agree with these recommendations. I would actually make these percentages even smaller than this because I don't like debt. But this is a common recommendation given, is spend no more than 28% of your gross income, gross monthly income, on a mortgage payment. That's a recommendation. I would actually say go less than that. I spend about 1/6 of my gross monthly income on my mortgage payment. Okay, and then they say to spend no more than 36% of your gross monthly income on your total debt payments. Okay, so in other words, you would basically, things like your credit card, your car payment, so on and so forth. So this is a rule of thumb, and they're using here gross monthly. You guys know what gross monthly means, right? That means the amount of money you make before taxes are taken out, okay? So let's take an example. Suppose your gross annual income is $240,000. What's the maximum amount you should spend each month on your mortgage payment? Well, first of all, let's find out what your gross annual monthly income is. So your monthly, let's figure the monthly income first. Okay, and that would be 240,000, right? Divided by 12. Okay, which is $20,000. That's a lot of gross. That's a lot of money. I wish I made that much money. So that's $20,000. Now, what's the maximum you spend each month on your mortgage payment? Well, they said you should not spend more than 28%. So I'd want to take that 20,000 and multiply it by 0.28. So 20,000 times 0.28 is 5,600. Okay, that's a pretty sweet house, by the way. If you bought a house that had a mortgage payment like that. Okay, what's the maximum you spend on your total credit obligations? This would be your car payment, your credit card debt, your house payment, your loan that you took out to buy your really nice TV, whatever else it is. So that would be 20,000 times 36%. That'd be 36% of that. 7,200. So you don't want to have debt over that if you go with these recommendations. Again, I would encourage you, if your monthly mortgage payment is 90% of the maximum amount you can afford, what's the maximum amount you should spend each month for other debt? Okay? So your monthly mortgage payment is 90% of the maximum amount you can afford. Okay, so that's this monthly mortgage payment here. So I want to take 90% of that, okay, because that's how much my mortgage payment actually costs. The maximum amount I can afford is $5,600, right? And it's telling me that I'm only going to use 90% of that. So I first take $5,600 times 90.9. Okay, that gets me a mortgage payment of $5,040. How much is left for my other debt? Well, I just take the maximum allowed for all my debt, which is right here, and I subtract $5,040 from that, right? $2,160. All right. So that would be another type of problem. So that's all we're going to do for this section. Now we're going to move on to the credit card section, which is really kind of an easy section, honestly. I thought this one was pretty basic as well. As long as you can do those couple of types of problems, that's what I'm going to hold you accountable for.